opposite from the analog world. And this is always having very devastating effects on civil rights and freedom rights. So my point here is, yes, we do need a framework for digital sustainability, and we just shouldn't only think of this, talking when we just shouldn't apply this only to the analog world, but as well, to the virtual world. And I think we should bring this issue onto political agendas, and I think we should bring this issue into academia as well, because academia concerning this issue is as well pretty silent, and it's important to bring it into people's minds. Okay, so now the question of the questions. So what kind of concept? I think we need kind of a meta concept, a concept everyone can connect to in order to use networks effect. Because, of course, today, there are copyright reformers, fighting for a better copyright system. And of course, we have people who are fighting for net neutrality. And of course, we have anti-surveillance activists, but these groups are pretty separated. And although, their living environment is the net. So there is like a very connecting thing they have in common, because they all kind of are active in one medium. But activists are pretty much separated. And then I want to talk briefly about a very smart text. It's called Environmentalism for the Net, and it's written by James Boyle, another American law professor. And he wrote this text 11 years ago, and it's only about intellectual property rights. And he criticized in this text a lot that the intellectual property rights system kind of got hijacked by big media companies. And his concern was that we have to protect the public domain. So public domain in Germany is something like gemeinfreie Werke, so works where copyright has run out. And in this text, he suggested that copyright reformer or intellectual property rights reformer should take the environmental movement as a role model, because they managed to achieve something pretty smart, and this is the introduction of the concept of environment. So how do I explain that? It's like in the 50s of the last century, there were like some people starting to worry about whatever, dirty water or polluted air, and then there were people concerned with protection of animal rights, but they were as well very separating, or they were like fighting for their causes very separated, until they managed to come up with the concept of the environment as a whole, and that there's a connection between polluted air and polluted water and whatever dying of fish species. And so this was then a kind of an overall concept everyone could connect to, and or everyone could identify with, because of course everyone is living in an environment. So and that was a pretty good concept, to get into people's minds. And it kind of made the whole movement stronger. So I myself, work with the term of sustainability, digital sustainability. So why did I do that? Well, I think it's a good term to hack media, because everyone knows the term sustainability from this whole offline discussion, and I think this term opens doors. Because every school kid knows that oil is endless, but not everyone knows that the internet does not function by itself, and not everyone knows that the internet do need like a kind of a political concept or framework in order to protect what is so beautiful about it and so useful as well. very quickly, so yeah, what can you do or what can everyone do in order to protect the net and to keep it as so beautiful and cool how it is with all its great applications in it? Well, if you are creative, if you do stuff, it's a good idea to put these works into the public domain or to use Creative Commons licenses. Shall I talk about what Creative Commons is? No. Okay, very, very shortly, it's a licensing system. So, but it gives creators and as well users of these creative works, you know, it enables a more flexible handling of rights, so that's pretty nice. Okay, using free software, open source software is as well a very nice idea, and of course, all in all, it's nice to think, oh wow, stuff like data retention is such a bad idea, we should do something about it. Well, it's always the much better idea than to get active, for example, and you know, just being active in whatever anti-surveillance issues or start to be active in a copyright reformer group, stuff like this. And all in all, it's always good to know your rights and fight for them. Okay, thank you. I'm done.
Okay. Thank you. And are there any questions? And well, if you raise that.
Thank you for your talk. One of the things you mentioned is patents. I often talk to people about patents. I think you've been preaching to the converted here. I think we all agree with the things you've said, but I think we can only change these things by spreading these ideas further.
Yes.
When I talk to people about patents, they explain to me that without patents, the chemical industry wouldn't work, the pharmaceutical industry wouldn't work, that the automobile industry wouldn't work, that engineering wouldn't work. Patents are absolutely necessary, and without patents, nothing would work. So patents are a good thing, and they can only be considered as such. Similarly with privacy, I have nothing to hide. That's the answer you get. How do you counter such arguments? I've tried various things, but it's a long-winded explanation. Do you have some catchy answers to these questions?
Well, you mentioned a very important thing, because what I always as well notice is it's so, I mean, you really have to have some, special knowledge in order really to understand these things. And it's so complicated because copyright system, patent system, or net neutrality, before you have explained this, it's not so easy to understand. And I think that everyone, internet, let's call them like internet activists, they have this very disadvantage. For example, like everyone understands that, for example, killing these cute whales is a very bad thing, and it looks so ugly when they're like lying there in their blood. So that's pretty easy. So it's very easy to mobilize people against these things. But the internet is not bleeding, and it's not looking very cute, so it's hard to activate people. And I think how you can get them is when you really have examples where things really got wrong. So. And I think it's not a good idea to talk very abstract about this bad patent system, but when you, for example, take these examples of these very weird patents which exist, I think that helps. It doesn't? No, it does not work. Are there any more questions?
Do you really believe that there will be a scarcity instead of a segregation, because it seems like the resource that you are measuring is human creativity, which won't become depleted, but because people can set their own rules on the internet, such as choosing Creative Commons over a more restrictive license, Do you believe that there will be a scarcity versus a segregation of the internet into free and not free parts?
I'm sorry, I didn't get the question.
Do you think that there will be a segregation of the internet between free and non-free parts?
Yeah.
Instead of a scarcity.
Yeah, I think this can happen as well, but I wouldn't say instead of scarcity. But I mean, if you have, some privileged elite which is having access to everything, and the others do not have this, I think you have something like scarcity. My ears really start to hurt of this technique here.
First of all, thanks for the talk from me as well. Just a short remark. It's not as if it isn't a problem as if there wasn't a problem with pharmaceutical patents. I'm working a lot on drug prices, and you actually can see many people dying because of too high drug prices. But coming to the main point I wanted to make, you're introducing the term of sustainability, digital sustainability. I'm a little bit doubtful whether this makes too much sense. So maybe you could define it better, elaborate on it. What's the definition of that? Because for me, it has two problems, the term sustainability. One is that it comes from a language, from a field of scarcity. I mean, the whole environmental debate is one about scarcity. That's where the term comes from. That's where Daley invented it, and so on and so forth. And the second one is, in the environmental debate, we saw very easily how that term could be hijacked by the forces of evil. No, but by you hear things like sustainable growth by big chemical companies. Mm-hmm. And I could imagine one important point, if I will be on the other side, important points to keep digital sustainability is to keep the internet free of filth, to give enough incentives, and to prevent the internet from clogging. This all could also be summed up under sustainability. So is there a way to make it more sustainable, more specific? Otherwise, I see a really nice term on your web address. I could imagine talking more about the commons is another unifying term that would be less easy to capture and hijack.
Well, I think commons is a nice term as well, and of course there's people who deal with this term and they choose commons and they did not choose sustainability. So I just took this one, as I said in the one of the last slides, because I think people can connect to this term because they know it from the offline world. And really people, the message really got through, I think, to everyone that we have to protect our environment, and this is very much tied to the term sustainability. But there are so many people who still think, no, the internet is free and open for everyone, and it's paradise and what else, and it's like kind of, it's just not having these problems. And then you said, so maybe it can happen that this term can be kind of hijacked, so that firms say, well, we do sustainability, sustainable development. Well, of course, this can always happen. The counterparts will always find some rhetorical turnarounds in order to kind of mess up your message. Of course, that can happen. Like my main idea is just really like when I talk to people who know what's going on, so like people who go to CCC congresses, of course they know really, yes, we have a problem with copyright, yes, we have a problem with net neutrality, yes, we have a big problem with the security measurements, but if you just step out of these people who already know about these issues, people really do say things like, well, why not monitor data traffic because I don't have anything to hide? So people like outside of the, let's say the people who know what's going on, it's, I think we do need tools in order to reach them, because for them that's just not an issue.
I think it's even worse than you said, because I think We are even losing the freedoms in the analog world we used to have, because the